It's a combat crazy world for Magic the Gathering when Wizards of the Coast continually has overlap designs for their Magic cards. It leads to a whole bunch of crazy sales, crazy deck ideas, and it's something that we need to talk about. What would you be willing to pay for the convenience, the honor, the privilege of having an additional combat phase? Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. And a reminder, guys, if you enjoy my content, you want to see more of the Moxman, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bell. I have new content every single day. So we're here to talk about additional combat phases. The new card, the Grim Sprint that came out with Universes Beyond Fallout, seems to have triggered something that people aren't really talking about yet. That's what we're going to cover today. I usually and mostly cover MTG Finance, as many of you know, but when I'm looking up certain cards and certain cards get mentioned or I see an increase in sales volumes, it sends me down the little tunnel over to the left there. It says, check this out. Do not pass go until you do. And I look, and before I enjoy my nachos and cheese, I want to see where it's going to take me. And in this case, it takes me to a lot of overlapping Magic cards. Cards with similar abilities, slightly different casting costs, that can really affect the gameplay of deck construction and design by anyone's standards. Some of these cards are getting insane and very powerful. And the fact that most of these cards are still really cheap right now and nobody's really buying them, but there has been an uptick in noise, an uptick in volume, not enough to make a top 10 video on the weekend, but seeing someone buy 40, 50 copies of something, the speculators going off a bit in the behind the scenes back door of they don't want to tell you what's going on, and you peer back there and you say, why'd you buy that? And why did you pick up that card? That gets me going. It gets me looking to see what's going to happen. I find that interesting. So this whole thing about additional combat, the additional combat phase, didn't exist when I was a new Magic player. You had to time walk and fork, fork, fork. And then time twister and then get your time walk back and fork, fork, fork to get all these amazing extra turns. Well, of course, there are time walking things that take turns, but what happens if your battlefield's already set up? You've already got creatures across the whole range that you need, but all you need is one extra turn to take out multiple opponents possibly. That's what we're talking about, because this doesn't have to be Commander. This doesn't have to be Modern. I don't care where you are and what format you love. Kitchen table Magic, I've seen insane decks in the past 60 days that blow my mind. But the fact they exist, the fact players have fun using these cards, overlap or no, it's not going to stop Wizards of the Coast from making them. But here's the thing. If these cards get more popular and if the sales continue to grow, if somebody has that same idea or sees a cool design that they want to build off of, the first people building it were paying $5 a card. The next people paid $7 or $8 a card. And you guys know how it goes. Eventually supplies get low, can't find the cards you're looking for, especially if they become popular, causes a massive surge in pricing, reprint targets, all kinds of crazy stuff. MTG Finance sucks! And we get to where we are. So if you're looking at some of these cards, or if you've thought about building these cards, that's why I want to share it with you now, in case it becomes a big thing later. I don't always cover gameplay, but some of these cards were so intriguing that I just, you know what? Let me share these with you. Honestly, when we're thinking about combat cards, when I saw this Universes Beyond Fallout card, Grim Reaper's Sprint, okay? 1 red, 4 generic here. You take a closer look at the card, though. As it is, it has Morbid. Now, that means that this spell costs 3 less to cast if a creature died this turn. That's amazing. But then you'll also have an enchant creature that can fit onto a multitude of creatures, which means it can be splashed into a lot of decks. And of course, when it enters the battlefield, you untap each creature you control, and if it's your main phase, you get an additional combat, not to mention it gets +2/+2, and haste. Talk about packing in a whole bunch of pop, power, and let's face it, a little bit of a surprise for people when they see that thing hit the battlefield. It's an amazing card, but it's not the only card. This is the funny thing that we're starting to recognize as the game continues to evolve, is you've got choices. You got other things that can do the exact same thing. Here is Morag, okay? Now, this card, again, is Zendikar Rising. This thing's a 6/6, it's got landfall. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 each time that it attacked this turn. Now, again, additional combats. Now, think about all these accumulative effects from cards starting to stack together inside certain deck constructions. When you go ahead and take a look, again, we saw this just this year, Murders at Karlov Manor, we've got the Mole God. Such a great name. I'm sorry, I still love this card. It's an 8/4 for 4. And no, it's never done anything for me. I'll tell you right now, in Standard, this thing's getting killed. But the potential for this card to be mixed with some of the cards I'm showing you right now, it gets a little bit disgusting. Because sooner or later, something's probably going to stick to the battlefield. Something's going to be around. And the Mole God could make it onto the battlefield, could find a way back, could be hooking up with some of these other amazing cards. And the thing is, there's so many choices. And this is what players have got to realize. These cards not only are affordable, but there's potential to actually buy them and utilize them in fairly inexpensive deck constructions. Aggravated Assault. This is an enchantment. 1 red, 2 generic. It says pay 3 generic and 2 red. Untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Play this ability as a sorcery. That's kind of disgusting, isn't it? And let me just show you the last little splattering of cards so you kind of get a good inside look at what we're talking about for these cards. Because the combat in Magic is getting pretty crazy. Now, as these other cards are popping up, like the War Leader, right? You can see there's some mixes of color. Not every card is, of course, exclusively red. But the majority of these cards that offer extra combat, the aggression side of things, obviously come with red attached to that color. This lends to a whole slew of possibilities because a lot of them cost 1 or 2 red to get them on the board. With the amount of mana supply, Leyline, the guild pack stuff, we have so many options available to us that I don't think players realize or recognize some of the combinations that are coming down the pipeline. Now, you may be wondering why I'm even talking about this or noticing how important combat is becoming. It's because the sales are starting to speak behind the scenes. Some of these cards are selling in greater volumes than before, and they've never really had that much attention to detail. But at their price point, they really shouldn't be ignored for future deck construction. Now, there's something to be said for deck construction, the idea of building your deck. I don't care if you're building a kitchen table, a new commander deck, totally getting it tripped out, or of course, maybe even just building a pauper deck. I don't care what you're building. There is a thrill. There is an excitement to building the deck over time, getting the pieces you want to use, putting it together, and then playing with it to see how it works. To see if your idea will play off as well as you hope it will. That is something I've never got tired of building or trying. And no, I'm not going to say I'm a genius because I lose all the time. But nothing gives me a thrill than building something I didn't think people would expect. Seeing the surprise on their face when it works and going, yeah, I did that. But there's a downside. Some card prices can really start to shoot up when a lot of players get the same idea. Or somebody builds the first one and word gets around. People start looking at how it was built, they start deciphering it, and they all try to rush to buy the same cards. Which means to me right now, somebody has used an additional combat phase deck of some kind, or it wouldn't be showing up as so many different individualistic sales of all these cards across the spectrum. Yeah, they're not super expensive cards, but we know a lot of these cards are older, they haven't had reprints a lot, and you're less likely to see some of these things getting a reprint unless the prices go high enough, which could put a strain on the supply chain of particular cards that you may see. Either way, I think it's fascinating to see cards like this start to appear, and the overlapping of these cards means there is more of a chance for deck designs. That's why I love tribals so much. When somebody gets a squirrel idea, or maybe even a minotaur at some point, give me thralls, bring me the thralls. Giving us these tribal concepts and ideas, giving us these different deck construction ideas, be it a 60 card deck, a 90 card deck, I don't care if it's a 200 card tower deck. You want to play it, you want to have fun, you want to build a cube, you want to do what you want to do in Pauper, that's the fun of it. And it starts with buying the cards and getting these ideas out on paper. Seeing these sales just put so many thoughts in my head that I had to share it with you guys today. I hope you had a great time here. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with the Moxman and looking at some crazy sales that are starting to mount up. Remember, it all started with Universes Beyond, Fallout, and that card appearing. And then the sales happen about 2 days later, and they start to accumulate day over day. So we'll see what happens in the near future. Thanks again for hanging out with the Moxman. Can't wait to see your comments in the comments section, because I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite type of deck you want to build right now? Or what future tribal deck would you like Wizards of the Coast to explore? Mine's going to be Thralls. You guys know it is. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have an awesome day. And a big shout out and thank you to the amazing, fantastic patrons we have supporting this channel each and every day. Because of our patrons here on the channel, we are able to upload daily content videos for everyone to enjoy. I really appreciate the support I get from my YouTube membership members and my patrons. Thanks again, guys, for being supporters. Well, well, well. This is the Ramble Jamble, but we're out of time. I ran late today, so I have no coffee, no nothing. This is it. Necronomicon, no page to turn to. It's kind of sad, but it does happen.